Rajakaran Jugwe, Robotudo Tama Jaka Sasitama, Tashi Delexu, the telling Sodaga Tenzin Day, Gagum, Gobachar Tamizini, Lab Jagger Matini, Tenzin the Saraptimboy, Zongani, Gomba Yamchara Songni, the Loni Sugar and the Sachakasa, Kakura Call. Nijima, Gobayasha Sokami, young Governor Ramji Salabiore, so Margaret, the Hajandi, the narration in some mason, the some Guyore, the Sarapti, the literary Gaguriake, Tamiore, the director of Naman to Shari. Thinking. Thinking level. Thinking don't that you can't so you get out with the Gaguni Dong. I much of a quarter of the get out of it. That's one of the much of a long running, the good out to the get out of the Nashi Jawok. I just asked him now. They call the Tenzin about this to the Kadayo, my Nangari, Nashi, Don Nashi Jakami Taki already.
And all my Dharma friends in the Sangha, joining us on the live stream from around the world. So today, and just before we started the session, and the gong sounds that you heard comes from there's this, how do you call this instrument? It's like this round thing where you gong on it. A gong, right? So it's a gong of Garchen Monastery that has a lot of blessings, and so it was instated in Garchen Monastery for a long time. But then during the turmoil for about 20 years, it was taken away and it basically went all around to be hidden. And later, once the monastery was started again, then almost instantly and naturally on its own, it arrived back at the monastery. And it's considered to be like a protector to the monastery. And it is also said that when you only hear its sound, whoever hears its sound will not be born in the lower realms. So such are its blessings. And so today I wanted to introduce my Dhamma friends to it. And so it's quite famous in the Nangchen area, also in the old days in the Nangchen country. So it was said that in the old days when you would still travel on horseback, and you would travel toward Garchen Monastery. One day before you would actually even reach Garchen Monastery, you could already hear that gong. And also in the past, the Nangchen king considered it to be very precious. It was quite famous, and he also actually offered a katak scarf around that gong. So it's quite famous in our Nangchen area.
Thank you.
We'll begin with the Chenrezig practice, and make sure you have page 11 from the red Chenrezig practice as well.
Tarba dan jen jen be barda yo bar je ba tam je je zo je be ma nang ga da nyam be sem je dam je de wa dan den dong e dan jar nhờ đà la nai mê ba yang da bar zo be chang che Rinpoche to bar cha
All Mother sentient beings, limitless as space, especially those enemies who hate me, obstructors who harm me, and those who create obstacles on my path to liberation and omniscience. May they experience happiness, be free from suffering, and swiftly may they attain precious, unsurpassed, perfectly complete enlightenment. All Mother sentient beings, limitless as space, especially those enemies who hate me, obstructors who harm me, and those who create obstacles on my path to liberation and omniscience. May they experience happiness, be free from suffering, and swiftly may they attain precious, unsurpassed, perfectly complete enlightenment.
Lương ai sông ghé va lai cor mai chia bar de lương ai sông ghé va lai cor de terren zon de nhà ma san da tam je bar de lương ai sông ghé va lai cor.
For that purpose, until I attain Buddhahood, I will apply my body, speech, and mind to virtue. Until death, I will apply my body, speech, and mind to virtue. From today until this time tomorrow, I will apply my body, speech, and mind to virtue.
San je chö dan so jian jo nam lai chan je bar de dan ne jab sun je da ge jian so je be so nan je ro lai pen je san jian de bar shu.
Until awakening, I take refuge in the Buddha, Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By the merit of generosity and other good deeds, may I attain Buddhahood for the benefit of all beings. Until awakening, I take refuge in the Buddha, Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By the merit of generosity and other good deeds, may I attain Buddhahood for the benefit of all beings.
Oi ma nam ga dai nyan be sem jen tam je de wa dan de ve jo dan dan bar jo je dong je jo dan dar wa jo je dong me be de wa dan men dar wa jo je ye ren cha dan ye dan dar ve dan yum la ne bar jo je.
May all Mother sentient beings, limitless as space, have happiness and the causes of happiness. May they be free from suffering and the causes of suffering. May they not be separated from the happiness that is free from sorrow. May they rest in equanimity, free from attachment and aversion. May all Mother sentient beings, limitless as space, have happiness and the causes of happiness. May they be free from suffering and the causes of suffering. May they not be separated from the happiness that is free from sorrow. May they rest in equanimity, free from attachment and aversion.
Jar je cha je dor je yo dang bu cha nye do gar dar mo jar ye yo wa mai shen den be gan zen zen be yon zo dan ye me gu Togar da de rele ye do ge gorle wandru cheno ya ye gang nan ju jen ro zen jen ba ba go da do gun ja ye do ran ye la真多当觉将白见本啊。
From the unelaborated, unperceived, and empty state arises my own body as the Noble One's primordially perfected form, brilliantly white with one face, 4 arms, and legs in Vajra position. The first 2 hands are folded at the heart, while the lower right and left hands hold a crystal mala and a white lotus. The indivisible form of the wisdom being and Samaya being is complete with the major and minor marks. On a moon disk at the heart is the letter Hri, encircled by the 6 syllables which radiate with light. These lights transform the outer universe into a boundless palace, and the inner sentient beings into the Noble One's form. All sounds transform into the nature of the 6 syllables, and all thoughts into a state of supreme love.
Om
Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Om Mani Padme Om. Then to run them back and I get charged. Mani Shubala so now. Ridere Katari, Katamati, Chwadi, Nirina, Jekor, Yungta, Jimboda Ori, Literate Lisa, Manijuchina Kang Java Chuma, the Tajuchwado Jichang Java, the Corte, and Young Sugar, as it is sugar, the Tajuchwado Jichangti, Tomakan Jazz, Dinner, Ringa, Amalatokan Drog or last night. Garchen Rinpoche, Tengtangbo, Tengak Jani, Rasan Jani, Tengama Lebni, 3 Garchen Rinpoche, Shengpe, 3 young child to Gong Yasong, 3 Garchen Rinpoche, Dong Shumber, Rory, Tengak Dorote, Garchen Rinpoche, Kodongti, Chuber, Gani, 3 Mala Kuta in Tomboy, Man Zalati, Kuta Zalati, Kong. Jodin Chitang may body con Torira Bachi, Jason Marcacho Yodo, so with the Diamado. Tahapachica constitution on Sonchi Mado. They get called danger Jap Manager D. Jap George. They call Jodin Jap, Jodin young joke, they pay some song Chitang Namazon. They didn't conquer Tabasam Jetina. The member control no sure is the common Nobjapatawari, Nobadawari, the something the function that you may come at that to talk of what your age. It came in some chicken to money. Then you bought in a Nepal and the labor captain, and Nepal and the lemon, Hong Kong to our Richard, Ramsey, Pepsi, and I were it. They come Nepal, Pile. Pilanga developed the Chenrezig, he developed the Kona Joseph Chijaviore. Think that the church is this one, this to Hollywood pay words. To Hollywood say Hako money. They come person to like Jok Donkey, Jok Song, Chicken, Jungomari. There's a joke, 3 person. They developed this one. Hundred songs on Cope Tonio and songs and Harkitan Mason. The 10 battery Jai already. The Tenzin Batata, the Baron, Tassan in Jai or the Ena, money to change that the Baron at Consumly Jolly. Then the Baron, Master of the Yard, the dark or politician, the Master of some identity, committee. Morting just in a state is the cause of character and the man so long. They're not in so what they shoulder. They come managing so. They take this as a little Richina Gumba, they just had a tomba, they kick down your marriage. The Richina Gumba and Dr. De la Gumba Patella, Sir, Nang, some chachi, in 3 Gumba and Draviore. They say Chachina, in the data. Jimdatang Teleka Chenita, Nangi Kortavara, so Mambolan, Nantan sorry chatting the thing, that the trunk dodgy Chanatana Mars, Manajuchi told me, they took just an hour, Donald Trump dodgy Chanatogilati, you go back to the Lamsam Metokevanaji, the Chayore, some chatting, then Trump dodgy Chang, the last man took Jitin. Much Serkhangma, Yengi, that's a Gongji and Jego, Pachita kind child, Gongji Jego to you. They call Ramsey and a pen. They Gongji Jego, they call Pebby. They chatted them, Tomatini, Yabuji, my pepper, they call Pebble, they Serkhangma Jego now. Then they can't live on a man's song, Gotcha song. Then I want to tell you so to talk the shadow of Chiboti now. That's what I can Yore. 3 Monam now. 3 Monam. Yeah, to Sentin Pimba so awesome. They might not check some money. Don't want to keep long money. This destiny, young Tartany, Taman to change the young water to the moon. This is a Roger departed. the strong to the Chenrezig Chawa. It's 사실은 또 찾지. 지금은 됐어. 지금은 콩 바이러지 산속으로 저 내발을 내버려. 인사해.
So Dhamma friends, while I'm giving some teachings, and please continue to accumulate the Mani mantra. And so today, before we come to the sadhana, so yesterday actually we spoke about the 4 branches of approach and accomplishment, and I gave you the most essential points. And so what I'd like to speak about today in the beginning is how this Mani Rinpoche's Mani retreat actually came about, and then in relation to that, how I really got to know how I met Vajradhara Drupang Rinpoche, and how I met him first. So my story with Drupang Rinpoche. So for the first time, how I met him for the first time was when my mother lived close to the Lhasa region. So I traveled to that region. And at that time, there was at Drikung, there was a Drikung master, the Gelong Pachung Rinpoche, and that was the first time also when I met Drupang Rinpoche. So after having met Pachung Rinpoche, Pachung Rinpoche passed away into Parinirvana, and so then for that I was invited to perform the blessing consecration ceremony for the physical remains of Pachung Rinpoche. And so I went to this ceremony, and I was sitting on this high throne. And at that time, Drupang Rinpoche actually was sitting right next to me, but he had no seat at all, no throne, or not even a cushion he was sitting on. He was just sitting on the ground. And the other monks also didn't seem to offer him paying much attention to him or offering him any cushion to sit. So then I felt that that's not okay, and I told them we have to offer him a cushion to sit. So I told them to prepare a seat for him, and so then they prepared this seat for him. And so then I asked who this monk is, and the other monk said, well, his name is Kuncho Norbo. And they said that he's sort of like a yogi. He's a little bit crazy. And they didn't actually consider him as anything, they didn't really regard him as anything special at that time. And so I felt he must be maybe a siddha. And so, but at that time he didn't say anything at all, we didn't speak. And then the second time I met him was when I traveled to Nepal, and I visited the home of Drupa Lodru. And when I came there were 2 thrones put up. And so I asked him, what is this second throne? Who is the second throne for? And Drupa Lodru said, today Drupang Rinpoche is coming. But I didn't actually recognize the name, so I didn't know who that is. And then he came, and it was that same yogi, and he sat down on that throne. And again, he didn't say anything. He just stayed on that seat for a little while, and then he left again. And after he left again, then Drupa Lodru felt that was excellent to receive his blessings. And so then he left, and again we didn't actually speak. And then the third time we met was also in Nepal. It was probably upon my return from Changchubling in India. And so at that time in Nepal, there was a Drupchen held, a retreat, a Mani retreat being held. And so Drupang Rinpoche was leading that retreat, and at that time he was sitting surrounded by a lot of people and doing the practice, and so anyways, at that time I joined the Mani retreat, and I joined that practice. And so that was at the time where the main monastery of the Drikung in Nepal is the Rinpoche Monastery, and at that time it didn't exist. There was just an empty space. There was no monastery at all. so at that time when I went there and we held that Mani retreat. And so also for establishing a monastery, there is an outer, inner and secret kind of criteria that need to come together to establish a monastery. And so regarding the establishment of the Rinpoche Monastery in Nepal, the outer criteria or condition that had to be completed, that was complete, was the various donors who facilitated the construction, and then also a population of monks staying in the monastery. And then regarding the inner and the secret conditions for establishing a monastery, I really feel that were the compassionate blessings of Gyaltsen Drupal Rinpoche's Mani retreat. It really came from these blessings, because once that Mani retreat was completed, the monastery just appeared almost naturally on its own, just like a flower blossoming on its own. And that is also actually mainly also the secret condition. And so then what is the reason that I decided to hold this Mani Drupchen also here at the center? So in the past, when we first started the center and we had just finished the construction of this temple, Drupal Rinpoche actually came for the inauguration ceremony of the temple. And actually there was no real preparations, there was not really any planning for this inauguration in place, but he just appeared almost naturally without any planning. He just appeared right at that time, and then he came and inaugurated the place, performed the ceremony, and he was sitting on this throne here. And that was actually even before His Holiness Tenzin Rinpoche came here for the first time. So Drupal Rinpoche already was here before that for this inauguration ceremony, and during this time, we also chanted together the Mani mantra, and we practiced the Mani mantra, and he gave a brief teaching. And he also offered a big crystal stone to the temple, which we also have here now. And so at that time, I supplicated him with a prayer, and all he said to me was, you have to benefit all sentient beings. And he didn't say anything else. He didn't give any other teaching or instruction or kind of advice. He just said, you have to benefit all sentient beings. And so that is a brief history, and that's the reason why we started the Mani retreat here. We're going to revive the Mani retreat here. So that is my short story of how I came to know, how I connected to Drupal Rinpoche.
다른 사람아 내 총자상 내 상체들 내 총자상게 이 공용대 지원망고 요나 데레데레 자 탐지 진박에 공나 샤띵 좀 낭도 이 샤띵지는 강송도 되는 공고초는 어디 이제 좀 조금이 담비돌로 왕 고조인지 진군지 cap 뭐는 누구인지 정원에 정고조는 소한데 성다 다 첨보인 봐. 대략에 수학과도 되는 책 제가 유치를 못지는 다른 게 당이 연발 치바래 되니 공용지 가래들 송적정만 공 동화 통을 안 이거 나도 가르리 제대로는 봐 요리 내가 조금 많이 봐 로마 탐색에 좋아를 못치를 좋아하는 거나 좋아하는 내가 차로도 제대로는 통에 좋아하시 봐서 인사를 이 자랑 부재다 무슨 대성은 참여지 책대 설명진 거 그래 송에서 딸이란 말에 송사의 공부들이 저와까지 야비 탐색을 되니 일단 우체 상을 못 지르더니 소한테 송을 맞아 진다라 딸이란 말 소한테 송책 가통만용 내려지들이 다 짜치 뭐인 봐 싫어 보지 되니 대개는 대라티니 되다 다들 공제반철에 탐색사로도 the Kong Torto Mevani is in Rami, Kong the Partner, touching to the Tatar, Drawang Gujo, Rinpoche, the money to party, then the Joko Jimsi, and Tomakong the Raman, Song. This is just Havani, the day is the day, Tatatangari, Rivajan, Serkhangma, the Serkhangma, Garchen Rinpoche, Gang Shishi, just the other, and the Gang Shishi Laguji. The Clayman Mother Mary, she saw my name, but I'm keeping it in the Serkhangma, the Hajan Kichimori, you know, I can go to
So when he was here, he didn't actually give many instructions at all. He didn't actually say much except for the Mani mantra, but he had really great blessings. And so ever since in the past I've met him, this name Gunjo Nobo that he received from the Jikun lineage always remained in my mind. And so also later on when I came to Dharamsala, to the Nejong Monastery, also the monks, the people there were speaking about his qualities. And then actually His Holiness the Dalai Lama, he actually composed a long life prayer for Drupal Rinpoche. And so when I read this long life prayer that praises Guncho Nobo, the crown jewel of accomplished siddhas, then when the jewel of accomplished siddhas, then I really felt when I read this prayer, it was really a supplication, and I felt that I had a special understanding then that he's really someone very special, someone very precious, and my trust in him even grew stronger. And so also, what is, for example, one of the qualities that he had? Sometimes when you would see him, just look at his face, all thoughts would just come to an end. Some disciples had said that they went to him to ask him questions, but then the moment they saw him, the questions all disappeared. They had no more question. And I felt that this probably also is like a liberation by seeing upon sight. And also, this supplication prayer or long life prayer composed by His Holiness the Dalai Lama is one that you should really keep in mind, because it is actually very rare. I have not seen His Holiness the Dalai Lama himself composing a supplication to any of our lamas except for Chetsang Rinpoche, and then also Gunjo Nobo, also Drupal Rinpoche. So it's when I saw that, I really was certain that he is somebody very special. And then when I think about his enlightened activities, he really engaged in practice just effortlessly. And on his own, having engaged in practice for so long, he reached the furthest limit of practice. And so that is my historical kind of background with the Drikung Master, the Siddha, Guncho Nobo Drupal Rinpoche, and also the reason why I'm starting the Mani, Drupchen, the Mani retreat here. Also, when he first came here, he was the one who first really chanted the Mani mantra here in the form of a retreat. So that's what I wanted to share. And so now, also according to my own wish, I'm going to give a teaching on the Serkhangma prayer, which is the Golden Temple prayer. And I'm going to explain this to the best of my abilities. And however, I do not have so much learning and I might not know everything. And so therefore, Khenpo Tenzin is also going to elaborate on that prayer further. But basically, because it is a very important prayer, I'm going to first give you an introduction to it.
lama deni nashi adirin boje ta nashi rumbani ta kong ketun sangsam deni tsang bon sam de la so ba deni ta lama sa che shui de zhe yo de kong song deni deni do yina de ba ka sa ka la yo re den zhong chu chu de ma ji yina de ba se kong ma de de kong shi de ni wo nang de ha jiang ji le 저걸 집어넣는데 맞이나 뭐 단지 된성 본다 맞도 요 말이 근데 하정 싸치 머리에서 이 양도 송 이제 강만데 다다 저 가사까지 저걸로만 줘봐 제바텔라다네 신진장의 요리 또 반예셔마 남타 소점마 serkhangma 네 전제들라서 봐 망고자고 이 총나는 요리지 이 얘는 라만 줘봐 디바들 다 라만 줘봐 디바 짱짱대 땅거도 얘는 얘는 라만 줘봐도 땅이 좀 serkhangma 등이 받아 땅 거리 하지나도 막 통망이 말이 그래서 라만 줘봐 디바들 serkhangma 땅은 이제 예비 참보 연구를 뒤서도 이제 장고 도진 장면이 이제 가면 간절 낭절이 사심을 요리 얘네들이 소소하게 강시시 시에는 양 소소를 지역을 가서 저를 망보 요리들랑 게 성문이 고와 샤니지 되고 측강자들 동진보리 대신들이랑 게 대리 가시시고 이 대신에 강의들 망과라 라만 줘봐 누구한테 돈 값을 serkhangma 참이 잔나나도 로마 삼지게 라는 핀받침 뭐 요리 데르티네들이 시라고 와침 뭐 라신 사제시 받더니 하고 그들 라신 사제리들 하고 말이지 생물랑 생물 용띠 참아든지 책이가 나는데 그 요리 대 소소라 하자 페이송 그냥 그 생물랑 있지 라신 사제들은 우리지 대타버들이랑 그 계시나 대타고 셔터분도 대외디 하장 빈받침 번도 대외랑 그 대에다들랑 그 강시시전에 로마 탐제라 그냥 그 주로 남발아 쇼이
The Serkhangma, the Golden Temple prayer, is a 7-branch prayer of the Tantric system. And in the past, there was also a very special Lama in Nangchen called Ade Rinpoche. He was really a completely accomplished master within whom all the qualities of scholarship and also practice and accomplishment were complete. And so he was a master, having completely mastered hearing, reflecting, and meditating. He was considered a very precious master. And so Ade Rinpoche said that, so in the past, until now, there are many 7-branch prayers according to the sutra system. You find them all over the place. But there really isn't any 7-branch prayer according to the Tantric system, aside from the Jigong Kagyu lineage by Jigten Sumgön, a prayer by Jigten Sumgön. And it's a prayer that he said can also be found in the Jigong Kagyu, is the like offering activities or Jigong Chöchüm. And he said that the verse is extremely eloquently expressed, and he considered it really highly. And so although he was not from the Jigong, he said that in the Jigong, that's the only place where you can find the 7-branch offering according to the Tantric system, and he considered it very precious. And he mentioned this actually over and over again. And so then this 7-branch prayer according to the Tantric system should be incorporated in the Lama Chöpa practice, whichever practice we do. In a Jigong Kagyu, for example, there's many different kinds of Lama Chöpa practices. There are many elaborate ones and also concise practices. In the more elaborated versions of the Lama Chöpa practice, and that is something that is also in the small print. It says that, so there, for example, there are many different branches that occur in the Lama Chöpa practice, such as Now there is the like a 37 fold like biography in verse form and of Chitin Sumgun, and then there is a section on the 10 holy places, and then 10 substances, and the Lama Chöpa itself, and the 7 branch offering, and so forth. So there are many elaborations in the Lama Chöpa practice. And for the most part, people are practicing the concise Lama Chöpa practice. And so whichever one practices, it's important to actually incorporate the Serkhangma, the Golden Temple, to the Lama Chöpa practice, because it's really very special. So it itself, within the Serkhangma, 7-branch Serkhangma Golden Temple prayer, actually all the 7 branches, whether concise or elaborate, everything is complete within it. And also His Holiness Chenrezig Rinpoche actually gave a teaching, a commentary on it, which is also very precious. And so now I'm going to explain it to my best abilities, because you disciples have trust in me, and many people love me. And so I will basically share the meaning of these words according to my own understanding of their meaning. So I'm going to share a few words with you. And I've really personally found, from my own personal perspective, that the Serkhangma really benefited myself. It is very beneficial when it comes to understanding the mind, that the mind is actually Buddha. And it is explained very concisely and in a way that you can't really find elsewhere. So, and that actually is expressed in a verse only consisting of 4 lines. And when you read that and understand that, you really gain trust, full trust that your own mind is actually Buddha. So this is really how it was for me. When you read that, then you just feel that that's really how it is. Yes, my mind really is that. So this is from my own personal perspective, and now I'm going to share with disciples, with my Dharma friends, to the best of my abilities.
타바치분 도가나더니 초상의 초강 세막의 체야요마도 이체 욕사요 말이 타바치에 다 초만 뭐 초고 그래 초가라 뛰는데 탈도 로고 그래 뒤라니더니 오 초강가 tích 야 동체 멈스마 데이터 송의 사지 탑지 망용지를 데이터 사지 샤자서 최종을 봐 데이터는 이 탐지지다 포랑 강바지가 포랑되는 강발이 뒤는 간이 송고요 그러면은 되네 이 셈이 똥바라 뛰나 파나 똥만 이랬더니 간들이 지총 야도 매가 별나 똥만 이래 자와 탐지지 막 돈이 돈신은 된 간들요 말이지 쟤는 똥섬 똥섬 똥 친구들이랑 친구 말이지 니다가 똥섬 똥이 찍듯이들이 장미 말했지. 똥섬 이제 남자 장미나지. 남자 똥섬 똥이 치버려서 대 친구 말이 대사서 많은 대사서 똥나 니네들이 다 심리 논이다고 저거 라고 생각나나 대양 포랑도 심리를 뛰는 밥 포랑나다 포랑 뛰는 밥 차지 삼지 대사의 포랑도 뛰는 밥 이 포랑때 세미를 뛰는 파원들이 랑 세군 내롱들이 사자치 보고 오 세군 내롱들은 샘 나갔다 뛰는 파원들이 남크에 가찹 선지기 찹 계속 가찹 레난가 찹 뒤가찹라들 레난가 동하게 찹좀 대선들 산지 샘지 니를 이제들이 다 샘지버리지 대양대 gen지기수 공부담지 공부가 적번은 송에들이 산지산나 니나면 매서 산지산을 해서 네바니요 말이지 돈다고 네바 찍고 봐도요 말이지 돈다고 네바대 문제라는 거 돈담을 대마성을 군족을 대마다 내가 대마다 우리 내가 다다들 주소송을 돈담을 대마 돈 사지 산나 대인 나면 매성 내 돈담을 대마다 선나 왔다 이런 파도는 나파나 야도 해봐 대리들이 과야 법에 차서 양땅 양도스로 땅들이 저리 그래서 제가 그 포랑 조 샘레 그래서 이제 사지에 탐제 포랑 샘레 제가 다 책이다 그래
And so it begins with, I gaze upon the supreme self-arisen Lama seated on the immutable, spontaneously established throne. What is it here? So that the kind of the syntax of the sentence is a bit different in a Tibetan. So it actually begins with, here in the supreme palace of all victorious ones of the three times. And so the palace of the Buddhas of the three times. So first, when I was young and I was a child, when I just read this line itself, actually I had various kinds of understanding of the meaning of just these words. So how do we understand these endless Buddhas of the three times? In the Great Liberation Sutra, for example, it speaks about the number of how many Buddhas there are, and it says there are as many as there are sand grains on the banks of the river Ganges, basically saying that they are incalculable. There are endless Buddhas. And actually in the Great Liberation Sutra is a sutra that is often, especially during certain practices, repeated, so it is accumulated. And so in any case, it mentions in there, you can count from 1 to 10 to 100 and 1,000, 10,000, 100,000, up to millions, and still there's more Buddhas. So the Buddha Shakyamuni also, and this is what basically, that was his measure for all how many Buddhas there are in the three times. There are really incalculable numbers of Buddhas. And so then it says here that within this palace, the supreme palace, so the supreme palace of all the victorious ones, meaning that within this palace dwell all the victorious ones of the three times. So then one may wonder if there are so many Buddhas that you can't even count them. How do they all fit? So a palace basically is a house. So how can they all fit in one house? So how we understand that is, we need to understand that is that house, this palace, really is the mind itself, the empty mind. And within emptiness, there is no contradiction at all. It is that within the expanse of primordial wisdom, all the Buddhas are one. So there are countless Buddhas, but they are all one within emptiness. So when you understand the meaning of emptiness, you see that there is no contradiction in emptiness. Anything is possible. And so when we then think about this vast mandala of the universe, we speak about a third order, 1,000-fold universe or a billion-fold universe. And even that, actually, according to the Buddha, is not very much, it's not very large. We can consider this billion-fold universe as one, and then there is limitless of such universes. So therefore we speak about this infinite, endless field of universes. So there are countless universes like this one, like this billion-fold universe. So then it says, so the primordially pure mind, so that is what it is. The supreme palace in the fifth line is the primordially pure mind of the fourth line. So the palace is the mind itself. And the palace is also the place where all the Buddhas of the three times dwell. So this is how we should understand it. The mind itself meaning the natural state of the mind or the state of Mahamudra. When you see the natural state of the mind, you experience a space-like nature. And that space-like nature is all-pervasive. It is said that wherever space pervades, sentient beings pervade. And wherever sentient beings pervade, suffering and karmic appearances pervade. So this is the extent of mind. Mind pervades them all. It's like space, all pervasive. So this mind is the basis of all Buddhas and all sentient beings. Jigten Somgön also said in the Gong Chik, on the level of Buddhahood, there are no two truths, that the two truths are indivisible. So on the level of the ultimate truth, there is just one truth. The ultimate truth is unchanging. So what we call ultimate is this the unchanging ultimate state. What we call the relative or conventional truth is like a temporary truth. So on the level of Buddhahood, there are no two truths. So on the ultimate level, that is the ultimate level combines both truths. And on the ultimate level, seeing the ultimate truth is to ascertain or experience the space-like nature of the mind that is free from any obstruction or limitation. So think about just these words actually over and over again. So the primordially, the mandala of the primordially pure mind, in this supreme palace of all the victorious ones after 3 times. So basically, how you should understand this is that this pure mind itself is that supreme palace wherein all the Buddhas after 3 times dwell.
Sem Kang Rashia, and got up trouble on the Pata, do some units. Data and the Pata, Mambata, some units. Saja Chibu Corona, do some Yamba neither, they Saja like shows. Chibaris, Jimmy, Sam Kong Jetty, and Java Dogma of Tagari. Joy your marriage. Later, we saw some kids, some near. This Google Song, Covid just leaning core jeto, lower Jubri Kitchik Sambaran so easy. Shetanga wanted in the talking song something. That's the part of the rest of them. That's it to Dory, that's it, Nava, is that there are someone here. Most of Toyo Yori, but almost all Chatham, most of that younger Yori, Yam the Yoris. This subject, Taki Down is Taki Down. This something same day, who Zokti Paksha the Mazo or the Nyan same day, Mevanto, the same Mevanto. Rang Dere, same Kong is also not Chadina, same what out there, Yori. The new more Paksha task something, same quality, Meva, same Kong Nakata and Nakata Dedos. Oh, then Java these are same Kong rate. They can't marry. Did they mean, oh, and Jimmy Legislative didn't to Ramzon Lama Chola Target. Oh, this same thing, they look doors on the tree, but the triple on the Geo Watan. Oh, don't down coronatory demand, Mamta, Jamata Virgin, some come around, Sharon Matos, most of them are Madaba, Rang Sem around. Just now I come to Rang the same song, Ranis of demons. 지성은 싸움과 땅싸는 오 다시 다시 강한 랑그랑 우리 산족색으랑 우리 마당이 성수명 아주 너무 독속으랑 우리 생크랑이랑 뭐 샷되는 맛도 저게 생크랑 이제는 보절매 받이 데이터를 거기 나와랑 그 셈도 다 이제는 이 생크랑을 파세 열 나와는 맞춰서 선난 것 때는 오, 내롱 통하다는 랑 상제리, 내롱 마통까지 랑처를 처음을 랑리스, 철사를 랑리스, 오, 세나와티 다우샤는 그때도 나도 보던 제말이 심하나, 좀 나도 다들 등에 나도 배속을 놓고 요리스, 차기 왔던 것들이 세상도 차도 올라서 어찌랬지, 마치 세나만 전적으로 요리 그랬다고. 같이 나시다 안 거요. 물을 보죠 줘야지. 뒤에도 좋아요. 뒤 가리지 남보고 좋아요. 남 또는 진짜 단계 가게 좀 누구보다 치마를 좀 봤어 오 동당 세분 내놓고 때려내라 제답지 유목이 실인 줄 알지 맞아 유목은 코랑을 안시 동바에 배다시 내가 때때는데 점이 해줄 때 되게 나그 샘 대매랑 샘 진시 이거 같아 대사한테 급자랑 샘 되래 급자도 많이 찍발했어 내면도 대사에 찍발했어 저랑 돌아 내가 다때 점이를 남성라만 돌았다지 라메 가르치거든 라마시 빠지게 동이 잡으면서 오 내가 미성성 됐던 거죠 타톱 사제 공방들 동의를 잘했어야지 오 라마시가 동의를 잡니래 동의를 잡니 라마한테 랑생을 짜야한테 랑생을 잡아가니 차도 길살로 땅 오, 사제 좀 되는데 그 딱 깔아 저거도 없어 사제 형이 줄로 타발 람띠 왔어 얘를 타발 랑생을 하다고 잡았어 그러면 거기 장쌤 나갔다 와서 저는 왜 줄라 그냥 초랑은 유모본 적디나 이거 가나지 않매 타바랑이라래 싶었지 이송 사지 쏘송 차버래 되게 꼴랑 땅도 싸움 땅아니지 싸움 땅이 들이 주로 잠들 되지 세시하게 오지 대다가 저는 랑 생내로 하고서는 저다 나와 탐저랑 그 세미 눈을 두고 타타자서 세코는 딱 깼다는 데니 탑이자 타타와래 너도 딱 시진 타타와래 뒤들을 하시자 내 탑나 렉도스 예르티니 정밀은 무슨들 양하랑 진성 강리 책랑 속 마셔는 데라고 이미 그성 화과들은 되게 우리 말하자는 게 대반인 타와린 그서 송 제리티 되는 도지타버리스 뭐 드림이타버리스 사실 강강한 송들 드림이타버리스 저래가 속 마셔는 코데이가 세번하고 하고 두고도 대회에서는 이제 현재적 딩딩들 한송을 아마 졸았다 했지 얘는 책 놀더랬지 랑 지시 봐요 다대 마땅시 대 유모도 마땅시 책대 이만도 없어
Then, so the next, the third line in the Tibetan then is, let's see, the second line in the English. So the self, so I gaze upon the supreme self-arisen Lama seated on the immutable throne and so on. So this immutable, seated on this immutable throne or seat. So now we have established there's this palace. So we have the house, and inside the house, we also need chairs, and we need places to sit, seats, so that the throne is in that palace, in the house. So we have already said that the house is your own mind. And now I was saying that even the chair in the house also is your own mind. So the throne is also your own mind. And so on the relative level, which is the level where we are confused, from the perspective of confusion, to our mind, there are 3 times. We perceive 3 times. We perceive a past, a present, and a future. But actually, in the state of Mahamudra, the 3 times are equal. There's this prayer where it says, may the auspiciousness of the Mahamudra, wherein the 3 times are equal, be present. So there are no 3 separate times. Timelessness is the time of Mahamudra. And so on the relative level, due to karma, we wander in the 3 realms of samsara. And Jigten Somgön also said, that which wanders in the ocean of samsara is the body. So temporarily, momentarily, we wander in samsara. And Jigten Somgön also said, karmic ripening, cause and effect, is the momentary, the natural manifestation of one's moment-to-moment thoughts. Meaning, for example, that when the momentary thought is anger, then that manifests as the appearance of the 3 lower realms. While at the same time, the mind always remains unmoving from the ultimate. But temporarily, due to anger, for example, one takes birth, for instance, in the animal realm as a venomous snake or a scorpion and so on. Or one takes birth in hell or as a hungry spirit. And these two we cannot see directly, but we can see the animal realm. And for example, the ants, like the insect ants, really are an actual reflection of hungry ghosts. We can actually see them. We coexist with them in this world. And so that's what I actually did. When I'm looking at all these little animals and creatures, I really analyze it and think about it. For example, when I look at those ants, I think, so when I look at their bodies appear that way for as long as they have the karmic imprint of being this animal. They need to be in this existence until that karma comes to an end. But meanwhile, what about their mind? When their body ceases to exist, then what happens to their mind? Does it also disappear? No, the mind doesn't disappear. It continues on. And even if they spend thousands of years in the lower realms, the mind still remains the same. And at one point, whenever they have purified their afflictions and karmic imprints, the mind is still there, and the mind is unchanging. It never is born and it never dies. It always abides like space. So that is that seat, that throne here. So the throne or the seat too is the mind. So the house and the seat are not separate. They both are the mind. So you gaze upon this supreme self-arisen Lama seated on this immutable, spontaneously established throne. So when you realize the natural state of the mind, how is that? So first, before you realize the mind, you are on the relative level, which is the level of confusion. And when the mind is confused, the mind experiences suffering. But when you realize the nature of the mind and you see the ultimate truth, all of that confusion, these confused experiences appear just like a dream or like an illusion. You see that everything is nothing but the natural reflection of my own mind. There is nothing whatsoever that possesses any true existence. In the 37 Bodhisattva practices, it says, the way things appear is one's own mind. So reflecting in this way, you recognize that the Pure Lands, for example, also are the natural reflection of your own mind. They are the reflection of bodhicitta. And then the 3 lower realms, they are the natural reflection of the 3 poisons, the afflictive emotions. So everything that appears, everything is a projection of your own mind. And the mind itself, on that basis, fundamentally never changes, it is changeless. So when you resolve that all appearances are nothing but your own mind, then you will not become confused or carried away by these outer objects, but instead you will remain within yourself, within the nature of the mind. And seeing that nature is seeing that your own mind itself is Buddha. So if you only see that, and you see that Buddha is your own mind, but not seeing that, you will be confused. And so within that state of confusion, various things appear, but so whatever appears is your own mind. So also from the confused perspective, the one who is confused and the confusion, that which confuses the one who is confused, is the mind. So the one who is confused is the mind, and the object of confusion is also the mind. So that is similar to the palace and the throne both being the mind. So now, in the state of confusion, things appear as concrete and truly existing. And fixating on that reality, we develop many thoughts and many afflictive emotions in our mind that arise on the basis of physical matter. And so then various feelings arise. For example, we get angry and we get jealous and so forth. While at the same time, the mind remains as it is. But temporarily we are confused by these afflictions, and that even transforms our outer appearance. And some people even commit suicide and spoil their precious human body because they cling to the thoughts in their mind. So it's all just a matter of how we perceive things, how we perceive the thoughts and the afflictions, the feelings arising within our mind. If you simply do not cling to them as possessing any true inherent existence, and you just continue to abide within the natural state of the mind, then the afflictions will transform into primordial wisdom, because the true nature of these afflictive emotions is emptiness. And so that is this unchanging, immutable. The immutable is this unchanging throne. That is the mind itself. It is your mindfulness. So again, the place where the mind's, like the house is the mind, and then the seat within that is also the mind. So it all is, in brief, the mind. The one who perceives and that which is perceived. It's all the same. And so then this self-arisen, supreme self-arisen Lama that you gaze upon, so what does the Lama do? What does the Guru do? And the Guru protects you from suffering. So on the temporary level, we experience suffering, for example, in the 3 lower realms until we attain ultimately the state of Buddhahood. And that is what we call being liberated from suffering. So the Guru is someone who protects the disciple from suffering. But then who is that one? Who is that Guru that protects you from suffering? Again, it's also your own mind. So the one that is protected, the one that is to be protected is your own mind. And then the protector who protects that mind is also your own mind. So they're both your own mind. So when you read these lines, so this is how I felt when I read these lines, feel that these words precisely correspond to the Buddha's words, the Buddha's teachings. And this is what the Buddha himself actually said. The Buddha himself said, I can show you the path that leads to liberation, but liberation itself depends on yourself. So the Buddha is not going to come and take your mind and protect it and bring it to liberation, but he can just show you how to protect yourself. So the Buddha himself, he said that I cannot come and take you and protect you and raise you out of suffering. If you continue to be afflicted, then there is nothing I can do. So that's what the Buddha meant with liberation depends on yourself, and I can only show you the path to liberation. So the Buddha had already said it all in the past. And so when I then read this again, I feel that this precisely really corresponds to what the Buddha had said. And so I myself really reflected on this over and over again. And so therefore I'm sharing these words on that with you, my Dharma friends. And so when you recognize the nature of the mind, again in the 37 practices it says, the way things appear is one's own mind. From the beginning, mind's nature is free from the extremes of elaboration. So when you see the nature of the mind, being free from elaboration is being free from the 4 extremes, or in brief, the 2 extremes of eternalism and nihilism. And it is enough to just be able to stay within this unelaborated state. There is another quote by Jigme Lingpa, that I also had inspired me a lot when I read it, and it really caused really heartfelt devotion to arise to toward Jigme Lingpa. And so what he said is very brief. He said that aside from not losing the seat of your own awareness, the stability of your own awareness, nothing else needs to be done. Nothing else is necessary. Don't lose the seat of your own awareness. And I really felt that these words really are like a vajra. They really hit the essence. And if you just hear that, actually that is all, only these words really show it all. And also, for example, these words are explained in the Ganges Mahamudra, where there is this analogy or example of a fire flame or a lamp flame that illuminates. So these words are like this illuminating lamp flame, or they are like a vajra. So do not lose the stability of your own awareness, and nothing else is needed. If you do not lose the stability of awareness, this is how you recognize that all phenomena of samsara and nirvana are the natural reflection, the projection of your own mind. So this is what these words really show, and they also correspond to these words here. So in brief, do not lose your mindfulness, your heedfulness. Do not allow your mind to become controlled by the afflictive emotions, and do that by sustaining mindfulness. So actually that is what these words show, and that is really all that is necessary, and nothing else.
tatu para so kami o choto the kayan nyam nada this o choto the samanyamani chepa mes kayan chepa me chana o ta chu ta septesa dole ta mo testa was on dole ta water ne ko tam sa ko nyam so ne lingo nyam ka dole ta water ne ko mares.
So this in the fourth line, the primordially pure mind. Actually, the understanding of this primordially pure mind is very important, very meaningful. So what does it mean when I say your mind is primordially pure? So look at your mind. How is it primordially pure? Then you might say, oh, he's saying that my mind is primordially pure, but then I suffer and I have many afflictive emotions. How is my mind primordially pure? So thinking in this way is actually a sign that the mind is still impure. So what does it mean to be primordially pure, and how do we experience primordial purity? Why do we say it is primordially pure? So Milarepa had said, in terms of the view, meditation, and the conduct, is that the view is something one has to directly realize, and meditation has to be an personal experience, and the conduct has to a conduct that resolves or is kind of decides upon the view. It acts according to the view. And so this is how we then should understand this primordially pure mind. So first the view sees that directly. What is this primordially pure mind? Now when you ascertain the view, when you understand the natural state of the mind, then that's when you will understand how the mind is primordially pure. And then once you understand that, that's the view, and once you have the view, then that must be habituated through gaining experience, an actual experience through meditation practice. So meaning that you have understood the pure mind, but you have to actually purify the mind again and again. What has to be purified is the dualistic grasping, the dualistic perception. And then that experience is brought into the conduct in your day-to-day activities of body and speech. Because even though you have gained some experience in meditation practice, again, in your day-to-day activities, dualistic perception will arise. So for example, in your activities when you're eating food, after eating food, you always have to clean your bowl. So it's not a one-time thing, you have to clean it every time you eat. So again and again you clean that bowl. And so this primordially pure mind, the mind needs to be purified over and over again. And so how do we purify the mind over and over again? So the first, as Milarepa had said, we must resolve the view. We must have those three parts coming together. We must resolve, understand the view, which is the natural state, and then experience it through habituating meditation, and then complete it, bring it to perfection in one's day-to-day conduct. So this is how the mind becomes purified. And so this primordially pure mind, here is this mandala in the fourth line, the mandala of the primordially pure mind. So this primordially pure mind is like space, and space is all pervasive. And when a thought arises, it arises momentarily, just like a wave in water. So when you have realized the space-like nature of the mind, it does not mean that no thought arises. It's not that no thought arises. Thoughts will arise, but they will be liberated upon arising. So the arising of the thought and its dissolution occur simultaneously. So that's also the meaning of this spontaneously, or this mandala of the primordially pure mind. So the arising and the cessation occur simultaneously. So, and then later, when you have gained stability in sustaining that state, when you reach the level of one taste, at that level, the liberation of thoughts becomes effortless. So that just things arise and then again they disappear. One taste is here in this text, it is the self-arisen primordial awareness. Self-arisen because it is spontaneous or effortless. It is effortless because there is no grasping within the mind whatsoever. And while there is no grasping, even though there is no grasping, one still knows everything that arises. One is fully aware of all the feelings of happiness and sadness and so forth. It is just that there is not a single fixation to them. There is no grasping at them. One knows all that happens, but there is no belief in the true concrete existence of whatever appears. And one just continues on within this effortless state of awareness that does not grasp. And so within that state, whatever comes is fine. Whatever comes is what one is content with. So this is how it is for the mind that is purified, or primordially pure. And so even though the mind is primordially pure, and we have recognized that, again, thoughts and feelings arise in the mind and they pollute the mind again. So actually, who is the one that pollutes the mind? It's the feelings that are generated by the thoughts. So the thoughts arise, they generate a feeling, and the feeling is what pollutes the mind. And we speak about 6 kinds of feelings, depending on the 6 sense consciousnesses. And then these 6 kinds of feelings, they place karmic imprints in the mind. So it is also said in a supplication that the 6 sense consciousnesses must be purified in their natural state. They settle into their natural state. The 6 consciousnesses settling in the natural state is the nail of the conduct. So also by Milarepa. And so again, Milarepa previously had said that the view must be ascertained and the meditation must become an experience, and then within the conduct, this experience must be brought to perfection. And then at this point, when these come together, then whatever feeling arises, it all becomes equal. You will just feel that it doesn't matter what arises, it's all the same to me. It all feels the same. So then there is no more difference to you, no matter what arises. So when that happens, then your mind has become somewhat primordially pure. But this is a very profound point to understand here. And it is something that has to be experienced through personal practice, meaning that it won't happen, a real understanding won't occur, a real realization, and that won't happen as long as it's just something that you say and you know. You can easily say the mind is primordially pure, but that won't do it. You have to actually experience it.
나도 신경이 세상은 세상에 신경이 얼마나 대상 신경이 심하대 좀 되는데 들이대게 저 공식 제송은 거니 들이대게 니모가 땡스 매발선 다 성지 다도마다 기적이는 줄 알고 뭐 적다는 참았다 로마 쪼라면 대세 다다마다 봐 이제 저번 친구 송바리 그직직은 적성이 그직직 살로죠. 배는 좋아하는 분들 통조지 좋아하는 분 통은 고소 차서 나도 가로 나도 다 진짜 저들 센데 나도 저를 제일 좋아하지라고 그래. 나도 상승 상지야지 나도 상승을 생골을 상상 받아고 자꾸요. 저 상지에 대한 통조지 맹대근 도고요. 배는 usta Rinpoche sono strace sono di sulla pogasam che tu sono che sta haco ne te vedere diretta da random la manchola tawaji sulta tishide jisu ji sanje samjing o haco gore te song jimbo song gore te trita ta ri yang company shemi so jaro na chiro namba.
And so at the crossroad between pure and impure can be seen, and where one is at basically can be seen, can be understood in the experience of the conduct, one's day-to-day conduct. So when the mind is in a purified state, so how does that look? So for example, a thought arises. So the first thought arises. For example, you're getting angry, an angry thought arises. And then there is the one who recognizes, who knows the anger. So the anger arises, and instantly there's anger, that's anger, you see it. So that's your guru, the one who knows that anger has arisen. That clear awareness, that is your guru. And that's the one that you have to follow, hold on to mainly, most importantly. And then this, once you have seen that, then this needs to be habituated, and so become a real, actual practice. And so then after having habituated, then when an afflictive emotion arises, it, through awareness being already in place, this emotion arises, and at once, instantly, it already disappears. So it becomes purified or liberated. And it is just the question of an instant. It changes momentarily. So in one moment, it disappears. But that doesn't mean that all the afflictions have disappeared for good, just because one of them has now disappeared. Then again, some afflictions arise, and then again they disappear. It changes from moment to moment, momentarily. In the Manjushri Namasankiti, expressing the names of Manjushri, it says, in an instant you're a Buddha, and in an instant samsaric sentient being. So it changes from moment to moment. And so in terms of Drupal Rinpoche, we have said that when people saw him, instantly thoughts disappeared. So that's what I meant with he's really a liberation by seeing. They just saw him, and that moment all thoughts stopped. And for example, we have said that some disciples wanted to ask him a question, and then the moment they saw him, the question already was gone. So the liberation of thoughts, that is what we call the liberation of thoughts. The thought arises, and then instantly, all of a sudden, the thought is gone. So that's the liberation of the thought. And when the thoughts are liberated, when the mind is liberated from thinking, then that natural state is the Buddha. When thoughts subside, then that very moment, you experience the space-like nature of mind, and that is the Buddha. And that is what we call this natural liberation of the thoughts, just as was the case with Drupal Rinpoche. Number 4 in the Tibetan, so it says number 2 in the English, the self-arisen Lama. That's this self-arisen Lama, the supreme self-arisen Lama that you should gaze upon. So look upon this self-arisen Lama, meaning that is your own mindfulness. And your own mindfulness should also be understood to be in essence all the Buddhas of the 3 times. So the meaning just of these words, of these lines here, is really very great. It's very significant. So in any case, Dharma friends, we are going to take a break now for 20 minutes.
Ma